Hi, and welcome to part 2 of our genealogy guidepost series. Today, we will be talking about citing your sources in your genealogical research. My name is Hannah, and I am the reference librarian for the Waco-McLennan County Library's Genealogy Center. And today I'll be joined by Bill Buckner, our Genealogy Center supervisor. Let's get started. Why should you create citations for your genealogical research? There's two main reasons: for you and for others. It benefits you by helping you remember where facts were found. As you do research and as time moves on, it will be harder to remember where all of the information came from. And as you find conflicting information, it helps you determine which source was more reliable. If another researcher questions the reliability of your work, you're able to back it up if you're able to retrace your steps and show how you found that information. It also benefits others. When family researchers look at your work, they'll be able to verify the information, and it avoids leaving family with unanswered questions about how you found the information. When should you create citations? Well, every fact needs at least one source, and every source should be cited. And you want to cite them as you find them. Don't wait till later. If you're up at the library and you're finding information, write down the source while you're there, cite your work as you go, because you don't want to wait until you get home to write all those citations down. You got to do it as you find it. Otherwise, you end up with photocopies or notes, and you have no idea where that information came from. It's also helpful for others if you write citations. Here, I've highlighted an example from a community history that has a section about my family. And it has this really interesting sentence that says, "Much later, Mrs. Frances Edwards smuggled two brothers in hogsheads to escape the persecution of the Huguenots. They were the first Rockmores in America." That's an exciting fact to find. However, I have no idea where this information originated. I don't know if this was just myth that was passed through the family because she didn't state that. I don't know if she found it in another book because she didn't say that. And so if you've spent time researching, don't miss the chance to share how you found that information, because you put a lot of hard work into your research and you want others to be able to receive the full value of the information that you find. As you're doing research, you may find family trees online that have details that you're looking for, such as birth or death dates, relationship information. But remember that someone else's research is not a primary source. Public trees that you find online can be used as a clue, but you always need to check for where they found their information. In this example that you see on the screen, we see that Miss Louise Kruger's birth date and death date, as well as her father and husband, are listed, but they have no sources. So can we really trust this information? You also want to make sure that you're evaluating the sources as you find them. So here we have a photo of a headstone and the associated find a grave entry. So on the headstone, we get some great information. James H. Rockmore, husband of Matilda F. Boynton, born 1831 and died 1869. But when we look at the find a grave entry, the full date of birth and death are listed, as well as the middle name. And the find a grave entry doesn't say where that information came from. And so as we're adding this information into our research notes, all we really know is what's listed on the headstone. We don't really know where the information from the find a grave entry came from. So we would need to look for additional sources before we include that information in our family history. There are many different goals of citations. In this presentation, we're going to focus on the citations that you need in your research notes and quick and simple ways to make your research replicable. Other citation goals that we will touch on include the types of citations you need for publication because specific formats are often required. And if you self-publish, you have the option to choose what type of style you'd like to use in your work, but it is helpful if you're consistent. The copy and paste options that we're about to go over are often not well suited for formal citation, but typically provide the necessary information for your own research notes, and you can adapt the formatting as needed. So what makes a good citation? At minimum, each fact should be backed up by at least one source, and the goal of a citation is to be able to find that original source again. For example, if you're listing the 1840 census as one of your sources, writing 1840 census might be helpful, but what is more helpful is entering a more complete citation. So that's what you see here below in the green. So the United States Census 1840, because many countries have censuses and many states have their own censuses. And then the name as it appears on the census, the site where it was found, and the place where this person was living. Other additional information that can be helpful is information about the page within the census and the microfilm roll that that census exists on. Many of the sources that we use today in genealogy are found online. And one of the challenges with using online sources is access to those sites does not last forever. Sites can be taken down, information can be relocated, the URL can change, it may be moved behind a paywall or edited later. So here is a family history that exists on someone's blog. And as long as this person continues to run their blog, that information may still be available if they leave it up. But one day when they stop running this blog, will I be able to go back to find this information again? So there's a few different options you have for saving online sources. One, you can print your own hard copy of the information you found and store it with your other genealogical information. You can also convert that website to a PDF if you prefer to store your files electronically. So to convert something to PDF, you go as if you're going to print the record, and then you change the print destination to save as PDF. And then you click save and you choose where to save that file. This process may look different depending on which browser or operating system you're using, but here's a screenshot of what that looks like when you change your printer to save as PDF. Another way to save online sources is on the Internet Archive's Wayback machine. This is located on archive.org, and it allows you to enter a URL or keywords to find archived versions of web pages, even when they're no longer live. So you're able to see what a website may have looked like a month ago, a year ago, 10 years ago. So here I did a search for that blog that I had been using, and I saw that it had not been added to the Internet Archive's Wayback machine. And so once I put it in, it gave me the option to save it to the Wayback machine. So I entered the URL down there where you see the yellow arrow. And then I hit Save Page. So it saved the page and then gave me the ability to go and view what that page looked like once it was saved to confirm that I had saved it the way I expected. And here I am viewing it, and it shows that this is the page as it looked on January 4th of 2022, which was the day that I saved it. So ideas for pages that you may want to archive if you want to reference them later is online obituaries, because there's no guarantee that an obituary that's published online is going to be hosted forever by that site. Family and local history blogs are another site that may not be up forever. News articles, and any site with information or photos about your family. That way, even if those sites are no longer hosted, you'll be able to go back and view them later. And you can include that you've saved it in the Internet Archive in your citation. Just as a side note, Internet Archive is also an excellent source for digitized archival material, such as out of copyright books, microfilm, media clips, and more. And you can create an account for free for even more features. So I would like to challenge you to visit archive.org and explore some of the features available, looking for your family names and places they lived, because I think you might be surprised by how much information you're able to find. One of the most prevalent sources we use in genealogy are books. So what information is important to include when citing a book? The title, the author, the volume number when applicable, the publisher, year of publication, page numbers, especially if the information is not fully indexed. And then where was the book? So where was the book might mean, was it a book that you own? Did you find it in the library, at a university? This is not part of a traditional citation, but can be important for genealogy because so many genealogy books are rare, limited printings, and can be difficult to track down. So it may be helpful for you or for other researchers down the line to know where that book was available. So here's an example of a citation for a print resources. So this would include books or periodicals. And so here we see that the author or compiler is included, the title of the book, where it was published, who the publisher was, and the year that it was published. We've also included the notation HOUPL, which stands for Houston Public Library, in this particular bibliography. But if you do an oral history interview, how would you cite that? Some sources are not replicable by future researchers. So in your footnotes or endnotes, you can describe a source so that the reliability of the information can be evaluated. So if you receive information from a family member or a community member who has valuable knowledge of the subject that you're researching, you can describe that interaction and when it took place and include that in your notes. Many websites make it easy for you to copy and paste a source citation. Look for source information or citation notes on the web pages that you're using. This information will often be at the bottom of the page or in the item description, and I'll go through a few examples of what this might look like now. Here's Find a Grave. So here we have the Find a Grave entry for Molly B. Bobbitt. And when we scroll down to the bottom, we see that this page was created by Hannah in December of 2020, and we get the memorial ID number. And then there's a link for the source citation. So when we click on that, this pops up and we are able to copy and paste that citation into our research notes. On newspapers.com, we have the information about where this appeared at the top of the page. And then if we click the little I box, which stands for information, a box pops up that makes it very easy to copy and paste the title, the location, and the date of that paper into our notes. You may also want to add page number and the website where you accessed the information. The Portals Texas History is another popular website for newspapers in Texas. And when you're looking at the paper, if you scroll down towards the bottom of the page is a section titled Citing and Sharing. This includes a citation that you can then copy and paste into your notes. When looking in Ancestry Library Edition, you'll notice at the top of the box, there is the detail, which includes the transcription of the record, and then there is the source. If you click the label that says source, it will give you information about where this information came from, as well as an additional description of the record that you're looking at. On some records, this is at the bottom of the page instead of next to the detail. When you're looking at an image on Ancestry, you can click on the arrow icon located directly above the tools icon. This will give you a sidebar that has additional information about the source, including the citation and the description of the record. You can then copy and paste that citation into your notes. In Family Search, when you're viewing a record, the citation is listed in the document information section. So you'll click the little arrow that's located next to document information, and information with the citation will pop up. Note that sometimes there are a few details missing from this citation, so make sure that whenever you're copy and pasting information, you read over to make sure it's complete and has everything that you'll need moving forward.
Please note that there are many accepted formats for citing your sources in published works, whether they're books, journals, articles, etc. Some journals or quarterlies may request that you follow a certain style or citation style as you submit materials for their publication. If you're writing your own family history, of course, the choice is yours. Choose a format and style that works best for you. Those can be a variety of all kinds of things, but note that the primary thing we're trying to point across is that you should cite it where you got the information, for its validity, and also for future researchers. Remember that the main goal is to let future readers know how to retrace your steps. One of those journals is the National Genealogical Society Quarterly. So we wanted to give you an example of what that looks like. There's the website of ngsgenealogy.org. And in their guide to publishing or writing an article for their publication, under citation style, it says all references and explanatory footnotes should follow Mills. That's Elizabeth Shown Mills, Evidence Explained, Citing History Sources from Artifacts to Cyberspace, or current issues of the NGS Quarterly. Elizabeth Shown Mills has written the definitive source book for genealogy to take every kind of format that you could possibly find, every kind of resource from maps, Bibles, videos, cemetery records, all kinds of different records, and basically provided you a template for the citation, the primary source information, the first citation of that information, and then additional citations. We have the book in our ready reference collection. She's also, I think, is in a new edition, and so she's always applying her knowledge to what's happening currently with more internet sources and websites that are quoted. So also on this website, she offers some free help online, and you can troll through previous answers and also look at the forum and post a question and look at the blog to see, like I typed in the word Bible, and there were literally just dozens of different queries over time of how to basically quote a Bible source where the Bible is just maybe a photocopy, or maybe the Bible is on microfilm, all kinds of ways to do that. And this is a great site to put into your onto your desktop. Other ways of citations in the publication, or you can do footnotes. So footnotes would be typically on the page that you quoted the item, and so that sometimes gets a little more footnote than writing, and so sometimes people put those as endnotes. So there could be at the end of the book, there could be a section of endnotes arranged by chapter. Sometimes people put those endnotes at the end of a chapter. Either way, it's good to, I kind of like the footnotes at the bottom if they're not too many of them, because then you can look and see what the source was without having to thumb back and forth. And then also another type of citation to quote your source is a bibliography. Now this is an alphabetized list, usually arranged by author, then title, and you might even have acronyms to define who these groups are that you're stating to make it a little bit shorter. And so this is typically toward the back of the book that you're quoting. So here, DRTL is Daughters Republic of Texas Library for source. Here's an article with that source. And then here's a source bibliography for a book that we might have used in the bibliography. Citation resources. So we talked about Elizabeth Shown Mill's book. It has some new, it's a new edition, I believe, coming out. Purdue University Online Writing Lab, which the website is there. That's a great site to get some tips and hints of how to do citations. And then also what we know as genealogy is part of history, and historians have typically used the Chicago-Turabian style as a model for writing their materials. So be aware of that. Once again, just think about a research log. So the whole idea is to write things down as you find them, so that you don't end up coming into a library looking for a green book that 10 years ago you found a piece of vital evidence, but you didn't write down the source. So just there's all kinds of free logs out there to help you keep track of what you used and what you found. If you get in the habit, it could be a New Year's resolution, but you know, just get in the habit of citing your sources, where you found the information, which library, what book it came from, and which page. This is part of being a systematic researcher. And don't wait until it's too late. And you can find these forms again once online. Lots of places to do that. Some search strategies: cite sources as you find them, do not wait until later, which we just discussed. Record enough information that someone else could find the information again. That marriage that you, or that death that you put down, that somebody would come along and say, where in the world did they find that? Explore the resources available through Internet Archive. As we mentioned, multiple sources. What a great source that is to help you find information, and then keep a research log. If you have any questions after watching this virtual program, feel free to call us at 254-750-5945 or email us there at WMCL Genealogy Center at wacotx.gov. I want to thank you for joining us, and hope to visit with you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.